Good morning. Thanks for joining me. It's Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. And this is our last Wisdom Wednesday in this beautiful place that I've been fortunate to call home since mid June of this year. So thank you so much, those who are joining live, and thanks so much, those who are watching. We've been talking this month about our mission, our purpose in this lifetime. And I'm going to share some thoughts with you today, inspired by this inquiry. Last week, I gave a talk about how the spiritual practices that we do bring us back to a recognition that we're not separate, that really we're connected to everything. And that the believing that there is a separate self is the cause of a lot of suffering. And today I want to talk about it framed in a framework that my teacher speaks of. One of my teachers, Adi Shanti, introduced this concept to me a while back that's really stuck with me, which is um, we really have sort of these three aspects of self. You could really split the self into all sorts of different aspects, but this is a helpful one, that we are all something unique and something in its own way separate. But we are everything as well. That separate something plugs in to something greater, always. It never exists outside, it never exists in a vacuum. And we are also nothing. And so these three, something, everything, and nothing, make up the aspects of our being. And if and that an enlightened being, quote unquote, somebody who's had the deep awakening that we associate with great spiritual teachers like the Buddha or Jesus or Nisargadatta or Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching. We have less examples, unfortunately, of non-male awakened beings. And I have I believe there are historical, and you could even say political reasons having to do with power structure and society and hierarchy that are behind this. I actually don't believe that it is more men that have gotten enlightened necessarily. Or if there have been, then again, we can look back to some of these social, political, historical reasons to understand why some of the women didn't have the opportunity to do that work. But there are some examples. There are some examples living now. Amma, and a couple generations back, Ananda Mai. In any case, this awakening, these awakened selves are the selves who have realized all three aspects of their being. And traditionally, the hardest aspect to realize is your nothingness, your no self. And that without that realization, at least in the yogic and Buddhist traditions, we would call someone not necessarily realized. But the no self, the realizing the nothingness, and the nothingness really means realizing that I am aware, realizing that I'm awareness. What is awareness but the nothing that we can't see, hear, grasp? It is the seer. Tada drashtu svarupe vastanam. That's from the Yoga Sutras, right? Then the seer stands in his or her own nature. When we realize that if I'm seeing it, I can't be it. That's when we're standing in the no self. And our meditation practice brings us back to this. And the no self reminds us that no matter what your particulars are of your hookup, your setup, your body, your living situation, all of us share the nothingness. That when I stand in the no self and see you, I can really be with you. When I realize that I am not ultimately at the very bottom of things, at the end of things, I am not a person, right? But I am a spirit or consciousness, whatever words work for you there. Then finally there are no politics anymore. There is no hierarchy anymore. You are me and I am you. There's no separateness. And this is why all of these enlightened beings are so damn loving. Because they look at you, at me, at a bird, at compost, at the sun rising, and see spirit in all of it, and see the divine in all of it, and do not wish to put themselves separate from, above, beyond any of it. There is no need. And so, in this month of speaking of our purpose, I wanted to make sure that we don't forget that, and I will talk about your somebodyness and your somethingness because that's important too. That is one of three realizations, right? And really all of these are in some ways ongoing realizations. But we mustn't forget that truly the purpose, your purpose and my purpose are the same. And that our purpose is to be aware, is to be consciousness. And this is to be love. And not love in the way that we may think of on Valentine's Day or on a Hallmark card. But this is the most stripped down, essential, and most powerful aspect of love is to be with everything in acceptance, is to see the divine in whatever we're with. And to see that seeing the divine in everything doesn't make you, the irony, of course, of getting enlightened is that you realize how ordinary it is and how extraordinary it all is. How me seeing the divine in you is not because I have ascended, because I'm so special and I'm so good and I'm such an awesome person and, I'm so right. It's because I've cleaned my eyes. It's because I've let go of the illusion that there's anything more important. There's anything more important than being alive and loving. Now, a personal purpose, right? Your somebodyness, to discover one's somebodyness is sort of to discover how awareness and love want to move through this particular being that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Consciousness doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end. Your divine self doesn't. It doesn't have boundaries like that of space or time. But this boundaried self, this boundaried self is your somebodyness. And if you want to really accept all of the gifts of your somebodyness and put them to the best possible use in this lifetime, we have to first accept that it's boundaried, meaning you're going to die. That's a good one to wrap one's head around before the moment comes, you know? And that along the way, you don't have, the body, while awareness can be unlimited, love can be unlimited, right? The body isn't. The body is an animal creature, you know? The heart isn't completely, right? Your emotional body isn't completely, and your mental body isn't completely. All of these things hook back up to the everything. And all of these things are flooded through with the nothing. And so the real claiming of your gifts relies on you not aggrandizing the things that are limited, not pretending that your unlimitedness is going to come from something limited, right? Um, I'll speak for myself. I often don't recognize the limits of my own body, right? And I'll push myself too hard, and I'll work really, really, really hard, and I'll just try to do all these things. I think I'm serving my purpose, right? I think I'm serving my somebodyness, and then I crash, you know? And that's just my somebodyness saying you're trying to pull reserves from this that don't come from this. It's like going to a desert to try to find water. It's just not going to work. And so, you know, it is wisdom that our bodies get overwhelmed, right? That your animal body says, no, I don't do that. That's not how I'm designed, you know? And I would urge you in this time, we talked about this last week and I've been writing about it on my blog, you know, we are at a time where so many of us feel over our capacity. And even if you don't personally, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. But I bet you've got some other people in your life who do. And I'm sure that you're watching behavior of some people that are beyond their capacity. And maybe some of that is causing you a little suffering, right? So in any case, we are all interconnected, and this is coming up for all of us. But if this is you, or if you want to give advice to a friend for whom this is true, that they're hitting the limits of their somebodyness, their somethingness, find a way, right? That no, nope, the somebodyness ain't giving it to you, is not going to give you what you're looking for. Turn toward the nothingness or the everythingness. Turn toward an experience of letting go of the small self, of the personal, turn toward an experience of either moving toward the collective, finding a way to be held in that. Hopefully, Nowhere Village provides an access point for that for you. And or experiment with turning toward the no self, which again, hopefully this can be a resource for that. And what that tends to do for us is to put it all back in perspective. And then we can be the seer of the somebody. Then you can start to see why the universe decided to manifest itself in that body, in that, with that heart, with that mind, with that name. Lee, John, Samuel, Holly, Judy, these are just the ones that I'm seeing up on my top of my screen for people who are here, right? When you say your name to yourself and you think of, oh, this is this person, most of the time we are kind of protecting the personhood. We're protecting the body, or we're protecting the personality. The body doesn't want to have pain, and the personality doesn't want to have failures. The personality doesn't want to do a bad job, and be seen by others in a certain way. But if we're just caught in that struggle, then we can't be in the seer place. We can't be in that tada drashtu svarupe vastanam. The seer stands in her own nature. We have to have a perspective from which to see the self, to see the somebodyness, to see the small self. And that means we're going to have to be able to stand in one of those other places. And what I'm learning is that when I can do that, what I see when I look at Aaron is mixed. I see a lot of mistakes. I see a lot of lack of understanding at times. And I also see this, I mean, I could talk a long time about the mistakes. I mean, but I can see this thread running through all of the mistakes and all of the suffering and all of the challenges. I can see this thread running through it of a being committed to truth and to love. I see someone really trying to serve her purpose, really trying to reach the real. I see someone committed to evolving and growing out of the unreal and out of her mistaken values and identities. And when I look at the somebody from the nothing or from the everything, I feel an enormous amount of care for the being that I see. When I'm stuck in the somebody, trying to look at the somebody, it's just a really confusing experience. It feels sort of impossible. Because I'm not inhabiting my seer self, right? So it's very difficult to see. And that is when I will tend to go into places of not just discomfort, but suffering, like real suffering and challenge. So the no self, the nothing, this is a natural state. This is an innate human state. And in that way, you can't exactly do it, right? We can't exactly like get to it. But through our meditation practice, if we can inhabit it and sit as the seer, we do see a somebody who does have a mission, right? Who does have some kind of purpose, right? All of us have the shared purpose, just to be, to love. In some sense, there's no purpose. From that position, I am not a means to an end, and neither are you. We are not objects. We're not tools. We're not things for somebody else to come and use. But we're also not, you're not a thing for yourself to use exactly either. The problem comes because there are obstacles to us being. You know, I said earlier, the point of it all is to be alive and to love. But maybe there are other times, other universes, other circumstances where this isn't the case, but we happen to live in a time and place where there are obstacles. There are obstacles to being alive, to staying alive. Throughout obviously the somebody has an ending. We're all going to die. I said that before, but there are obstacles to being alive and living a healthy life for a lot of people on this planet. Human made. And my understanding of my purpose is basically in relationship to those obstacles. This is kind of similar to the logic of meditation is always happening, right? But your practice, the actual practice that you do, the techniques you use, those are all to remove obstacles to the meditative state. And so in that sense, all of us, our somebodyness is, at least in this time, could be looked at almost like a superhero, restoring order and health and well-being and harmony where it lacks, where we see it's been disturbed. And so this is the way that coming into touch with the somebodyness can actually help us make peace. Because if I see there's all this suffering in the world, my care naturally arises to want to do something about it. Then once I discover what my personal mission is, I've got something to do. I've got a role to play. And so all of the suffering we do see in the world, all of the things that feel like injustices, these are calls. This is a call. I gave you guys on Monday the Ikigai model for discovering your purpose. And you can check that out in the inquiry section if you want, or in the coordinates course under mission. But that exercise has been really meaningful for me, you know, getting clear about what my gifts are and what the world needs, how those link up, you know, getting clear about what I love to do, what lights me up and excites me, and what's out there to be actual paid work, what how I can contribute and get something back, right? And tying all that together, which is what this exercise is. I've done it several times now, and right at the center of all of these things, you're said to discover sort of your purpose, right? And I think I'm still in discovery mode in many ways, but what I have found that feels really wonderful, um, and empowering is that intuitively, I already know what this particular human animal is here to do. And without me even being conscious of it, I have been trying to do it my whole life. Every single moment of my life, it's been there. And ironically enough, in times where things have been kind of like, okay, it's been harder for me to understand my purpose. For me personally, I think a lot of my purpose is to be somebody who understands the nature of suffering and human nature, and in particular, some of the shadowy aspects of human nature, and to accept and love those things too. To be someone who can be a safe space in moments of crisis. This means that I have had to have some training. I had to have some real deep personal training in suffering and crisis. And this is what makes me me, somebody here in this particular world. I'm open to questions or comments now. Um, and I'll share with you the sort of little poetic version of my mission that came to me a while back when some of us were all doing a course together. Um, I am an earth keeper. I am a truth seeker. I move from and to the heart. I am a space maker, a chain breaker. I walk in beauty made of light. And this, when I speak it to myself, helps me remember what I'm here to do. My number one commitment is to this planet. I'm an earth keeper. And so when she is in danger, that is a call to action for me. And where she is not, and where things are harmonious, it is a call to just be and to love. I'm a truth seeker. I love exploring wisdom, traditions, and I love trying to understand for myself how it all works. I am rather relentless in my, um, you know, my desire to throw the untrue on the bonfire, let it go. And just as I am always keeping the earth, I am always seeking the truth. There's always an ever new truth to discover. And just like there are times to just be with the earth, to not be just not fighting for her all the time, you know, that there are times when I need to just rest in her arms. Same thing with the truth. Just times in the truth seeker's journey to sit and just be truth. And we don't always have to be seeking, seeking, seeking. The line about moving from and to the heart came from a recognition for me a long time ago that if I'm moving from the mind, I'm usually moving from ego. That's usually when I later kind of regret what I've done, and that all that really matters is that I can come back to this place of truth and love that I call my heart. It's also a physical place in my body where I often bring my meditation anchor down, and that anytime I'm connected to the heart, anything I do will be perfect. And that anytime that I'm not, I will probably have to go back and do some fixing, or something. There will be some ramifications. Space maker. This is a really, really important part of what I do. As I've been thinking about this next chapter of my life and my career, hopefully a chapter where I have a little more financial security and all of that. I've been trying to think about ways of how do I talk about my work. And I often say I'm a space holder. Um, and honestly, what gets kind of closest to it comes from my work as a birth doula. Um, but what I mean is I hold space. I make a space for somebody else to have their journey, for somebody else to have a realization, for somebody else to come into acceptance and awareness, for somebody else to transform or get empowered. That my work very much relies on others being on their journey. And so I make a space for that. I do need a physical space usually, right, for us to gather. One day, part of my vision is that I will have a retreat center for us all to be together in person. I'm not there yet, but I can make this online space, right? And anytime that I am with someone, I remember I'm making space for them to reveal themselves to themselves before me. And it's such an honor. And it's so much about getting out of the way, right? Being a very, strong presence, but one that is actually being guided by the one who came to me for guidance. That's how I know they're going to get where they need to go, not where I want them to go, which is pretty, who cares where I want you to go? Chain breaker. We live in a time where there's a lot of disrespect. There's a lot of people that are people and beings that are treated like objects to be tools and utilized in somebody else's ego game. The value that goes along with that chain breaker part for me is liberation. Everyone should be free to discover their purpose and live their purpose. No one should be just a means towards somebody else's end. That is not how we were designed, and that's not in alignment with the beauty and the glory of selfhood. So that's a big part of my purpose too. And of course, on a personal level, a lot of what I do and a lot of the, meditation and inquiry, they help us get beyond our inner chains, our mental walls, breaking free from old ideas and patterns that keep us in suffering. And the last line, I walk in beauty made of light, is inspired by the Beauty Walks song that we sang last month, or really by the prayer that inspired that song, the Dine prayer, "In beauty I walk." And it's just something that helps me remember that this is a gift, and I am part of it. I'm made of the same beauty as every good thing that I find. And I say these things to myself because it helps me remember. It helps me come home to my power and my worth, my love and my truth. Judy shared. Thank you, Judy. She says, during meditation and then journaling on Monday, I came up with something difficult. I think mission/purpose often equals risk, discomfort, fear. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's totally true, Judy. And yeah, as I was saying, you know, when things are all well, we can just be. We're just here, being, loving, enjoying life. And but to have a purpose and a mission is often, yeah, formed by the very things that make us afraid and uncomfortable, because those remind us of what needs to be restored to balance here in this world. I think that's it. I think you're totally right. And again, this can help us reframe discomfort, fear, suffering, risk. It helps us remember that the challenging emotions that arise are still sacred information, just as sacred information as our positive feelings. And yes, often they're telling us, hey, you're really upset by people being disrespected. Maybe, maybe you're a chain breaker, right? Maybe that's some of your work. And then we can claim the power of that and return to the everythingness, and return to our collaborators, return to this bigger whole, because I'm not going to fix the world alone, but I can certainly do my part. That is it for the talk today. Um, I will be broadcasting from here one more time on Monday. Oh, so I'll see some of you on Friday, and then I'll be my last broadcast from here will actually be Monday. Um, and I've already been kind of reaching out to some of you guys about this, but I want to say it to everyone. Um, you know, my vision for Nowhere Village going forward is to have a more robust amount of offerings in there, and not all of them from me. And I want to start really simply by inviting. First, I'm just going to invite founders or subscribers to do this, though that could change. But I'm inviting people to sign up to host a monthly a weekly silent meditation. And so reach out to me if that's something that you are interested in doing. Also reach out to me if you just have a time of the week you would love to see a meditation or some kind of offering, some time of the week that's not offered yet. And finally, I am interested in talking to teachers who are trying to bring their offerings online, who think that if you think that there's a yoga teacher, or I don't know, a really cool astrology person, or somebody in your world who you think would really whose teachings might benefit the community here, let me know. Um, as we jump into I'm looking forward to 2021. I would love by then for us to be a little bit more robust, a little bit more group and member guided. And I'll keep doing my thing, but all of you have a purpose to serve. And maybe this is a little piece of that. And again, I'm a space maker, and I want to make space for all of you to show up and to thrive. And that I am honestly, I'm looking for more ways to do that while I'm sort of in the background, stepped back here, supporting from the wings a little bit, the doula to whatever you're birthing. Um, So yeah, I put that out there. And I'll be reaching out to founders individually so we can put that together. But anyone else who's watching and inspired, please reach out to me, okay?